Morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're joining in from. Thank you for always joining. Thank you for always making family meeting an interesting one. Like I always say, there's no family meeting without you guys, and I'm so glad to have you in our corner. We're so glad to have you in our corner. We're so glad to have you as a member of our tribe. And we will not relent in ensuring that we have the right information that can help us on this our journey of creating a village of our own, the village where we are raising kids and we are building families that will cause a transformation in our society. We all are wondering how we found ourselves here, but the truth of the matter is everything boils down back to the family. The family is the smallest unit of the society. Every president, every leader that we see comes from a family. And so whatever we are seeing now is a ripple effect of their upbringing. And this is the reason why the Center for Sex Education and Family Life, which is a franchise and the NGO under Praise Forward International, puts the family meeting together, a place where we all meet to talk about everything relating to the family. And we are here this morning again. This is the July edition. If you're just joining us for the first time, I want to say welcome. And if you had always been here, thank you so much for joining. Okay, so we are expecting about 75 people to join in, and we are 21. So like I always do, I'm gonna ask you, what do you think? Do you want us to go ahead with the meeting or you want us to wait a little? It's 9:03. So I would love to read in the chat box. What do you think? Do you want us to go ahead or you want us to wait? Yes, I'm still waiting. I know some of us are still in bed. Okay, Ayadele da Silva says we should wait maybe like 5 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, okay. Yes, I need other. Okay, Fina is one of our speakers. Fina, nice to have you here. Fina said we can give them another few minutes. Yes. Can I get 2 more? Please feel free to air your opinion. That's fine. Okay, Ariola said we should do like 9:05. Yes, please. Thank you, Oluwayomi. Can we all send reminders to our chat groups to remind them? Thank you so much, Oluwayomi. That's a beautiful suggestion. That's a beautiful suggestion. Okay, so while we wait for others to join, so when it is 9:08, we'll start. While we wait for others to join, for those of us that are here, please can you drop your name and where you're joining in from? And how has it been with you? How has the journey been with you? It's July 30th. That's the second month in Q3. Is that Q3? Yeah, the second month in Q3. How has it been? So we're going into the 8th month already. How time flies, right? Just let me know, how are you doing? Thank you, Adebola, for joining us from Italy. Thank you so much. Nice having you here. Showing you so much love. Thank you. Ayodele from Ikorodu, Lagos. Thank you so much. Please let me know how you are doing. For those of us that are in Nigeria, you know, the dollar stuff, it's so somehow, right? What do you think? I just want to hear from you guys. We are families, right? Thank you, Yemisi, for joining from the UK. Ariola from Lasgidi. Thank you, Ariola. Yes. Who else? Who else is in the house? Who else is in the building? This is family meeting, the July edition, and we are discussing an interesting topic. While I am waiting for others to introduce themselves, I have Fina Chichi joining us. Fina is one of the speakers. Good morning, sis. How are you? Yeah, thank you so much. Nice having you. Then I have Yeti Williams, Mrs. Yetunde Williams, popularly known by my boss. My boss calls her Iyamileku. Nice having you, Yeti. Good morning. Yes, okay. Oluwayomi said, Oluwayomi from Lagos, it's been overwhelming, right? So much to do at the same time. I'm showing you love, sending you all the love and the peace you desire at this time. We all need that peace. And that's the word. That's the word overwhelming captures it all, you know? And I feel you, sis. I feel you. And I'm sending you all the peace and love from here. Yes, Gania is joining in from Lagos. When I saw Maryland, I thought you have potted though, sis. Maryland, Lagos. Thank you for joining. Yeah, Fina is joining from the UK. Chinyere is joining from Lagos. Yes. Yeah, I still want to see more about how you are. You know, there's this thing about group, when you're in a group and you get to understand that what you're going through is not just about you. Some other people are also going through it. It's this calmness and this peace you get. It just helps you to know that, okay, I'm not alone in this. So I want to hear for those of us here and even in the UK, how is it going? How is life with you guys? This is family, right? If you go for a family meeting, the physical family meeting, your nuclear family, you know how you be like, how are the children? How is everything? Yeah, let me hear from you. Chinyere, thank you for joining from Lagos. Jennifer is joining from Enugu. Motayo from Ibadan. Obina, UK. Thank you for joining, Obina. Thank you so much for joining us. Esther is joining from Ogun State. God bless you. Thank you. Oh, wow. Christina is joining from Sweden. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am Falashade Femilawal. Nice having you in the house this morning. She's joining in from Lagos. Ariola says she's taking it one step at a time. It's global phenomenon, right? Yeah. So what do you think we can do? As family, can you just drop your counsel? So somebody said, I'm taking it one step at a time. What have you been doing for those of us that are sick? Because we all need to stay sane, right? Very important. This is not permitted to drown us. We are supposed to be on top of the game. It's not permitted to drown us. If you want to talk, please, you can unmute yourself and say something. This is family, right? Before we go into it, you have to be in the right frame of mind to raise these ones that we're so concerned about. And the world, the society is not funny. We're not finding it funny. So if you want to say something, you can unmute yourself and talk. And now it is 9:11. I think we can start now. Yes, Fina, thank you for agreeing with what I said. We need to be in the right frame of mind. Very important. So I think we can start now. And the topic before us is the woke generation. The woke generation. I'm sure we all have them in our houses. That's why you're here, because we need to understand. We're just talking about what the world is saying, what is happening in the society, what's happening in the world. And we now have the different species in our hands to deal with. You know, they're so unique, that generation, they're so different. And like I was telling somebody the other day, I said they are made for this time. Maybe we're the ones that don't really understand it because we are brought up in another way. And so we have two amazing people in the house that will help us to deal with the topic, the woke generation and everything around it. Please, please, and please, I'm sure you remember that we have our different realities. I have a 17-year-old, and some of you have 3, 4, 5, 10, 13. So our realities are different. So I want us to feel free to ask questions. These people here are experts and they are ready to respond to all our questions. So please, all those probing questions, all those things are coming to your mind. Let us talk about, this is family, and this is family meeting. So while I introduce our guest speaker, I want us to be thinking about what we have, the questions we have. So in the house today, I have Fina Chichi. She is a passionate parenting teen coach and consultant, a teens coach with a focus on teens' emotional well-being, mental health, and personal development. She has worked with parents and teenagers for over 10 years, helping parents with how to understand, communicate, and connect, and raise the responsible leaders of tomorrow. She runs an organization called Parenting Teens Solution Limited, which is dedicated to educating, empowering, encouraging, and equipping parents with the right tools to help themselves and their teens as they navigate through the challenges and changes of the adolescent journey. It is our mission to help support, disrupt wrong parenting habits, norms, and transform the lives of families through serving both parents and their teens. She is the host of the Parenting Teens Solution podcast, recently listed as the 11th in the top 60 world podcast list for parenting teens. She is an amazing best-selling author, an international speaker, and a mother of 2 young adults and 2 teenagers. Ladies and gentlemen in the house, please welcome with me into the building, Fina Chichi. Thank you, Fina. Thank you for joining. And if you will agree with me, from what I read in the profile, you know that we don't have, you know, we have the best hands, and you always trust us here that we'll always bring the best hands for you to discuss whatever topic we raise. And Fina is one of those best hands in helping parents and their teenagers to navigate through the changes and the challenges of the journey of the adolescents. The other person we have in the house is Yeti Mama. Yes, I'm trying to bring up her profile on my system. Yes, I don't know any of us. I don't know if you've heard of Lagos Mom. Yeti Mama is the founder of Lagos Moms, the first Nigerian blog dedicated to moms, parents, and caregivers. She believes that parenting should be a mindful and collaborative process. As a parenting coach, our mission for creating the Lagos Mom is to, so her mission to As a parenting coach, our mission for creating the Lagos Moms is to be a family life and parenting resource for moms, parents, and caregivers. Sorry, this thing is, Yeti believes it takes an e-village to raise a child.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. So I think the network from Mrs. Ebon is quite bad, and she's joining us soon. Apologies for that.
It's a Bachelor of Science degree in Economics and Mathematics from the University of Pittsburgh and an MBA. Oh no. Please bear with me. Okay, so I take that again. Yeti believes it takes an e-village to raise a child in the 21st century, and she is the convener of the Lagos Moms Parenting Conference, which is an annual gathering of thousands of parents and experts discussing pertinent topics relating to parenting and family matters. Yeti is a certified life coach and neuro-linguistic programming practitioner. She holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Economics and Mathematics from the University of Pittsburgh and an MBA, Strategy and Finance from the Yale School of Management, USA. She has an executive degree in digital media marketing from the University of Cambridge. She is a social entrepreneur and has over 20 years working experience with Span, financial services, real estate consulting. She started her career in Bloomberg financial markets and has also worked at Wachovia Bank, now Wells Fargo, Shell. She's worked with Shell, Lafarge, and Union Bank. Lagos Mom has grown organically online and is active on social media across Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram with over 100,000 followers. The brand has worked with several local and international brands. As a speaker, she has been invited to speak several times on parenting, work-life balance, digital media, and entrepreneurship at various companies, schools, company retreats, and many more platforms locally and globally. Some of her speaking engagements include being the key speaker during the Women Entrepreneurship Day celebration hosted by Google in 2020. She is a guest on the Parenting Today show on Lagos Talks 91.3 FM on Thursdays at 12:30 p.m., where she delves into various parenting topics. As a digital CEO, Yeti is the lead consultant at Slay with Digital, where she consults on digital transformation and strategic data media marketing planning for business owners and companies. Some of our clients includes P&G. I think it's a very long one. Please just be patient with us. Some of our clients includes P&G, Kimberly-Clark, Nivea, and so on. Lagos Mom was selected as an organization to implement Google Online Safety Roadshow Workshop in the community and schools in 2021. This was successfully done, reaching over 1,000 participants. In 2022, Yeti was selected as a partner for the Power Initiative, that is providing opportunities for women's economic rise. In 2021, again, Lagos Mom was selected as one of the winners in the Africa Online Safety Fund, set up by google.org. It is certainly an honor to have been selected as one of the 26 organizations across 9 countries in sub-Saharan Africa. Yeti Williams is married to Afolabi Williams, a very supportive Lagos dad, and they are blessed with 2 children who have inspired her to start a compilation of funny things child's say. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me Yeti Williams. Yeti Williams and Fina are going to be taking us through this journey of understanding the woke generation. Good morning, Yeti, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, everyone. Excuse me. Thank you for inviting me today. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning. I think we can start. Yes. Okay, so the past few months, I think since May, we have been treating sensitive topics. We brought 2 teenagers to the house in May, and we were made to air their mind. Just tell us, what do you think? What always go on in your minds, you know? And those teenagers said a lot of things. One thing I took from that conversation is that these guys have their mind, and we cannot turn them to robots. That's one. 2 is the emotional aspect, where the teenage boy said something about the fact that even at that age, so many unrealistic expectations that is weighing him personally down as a boy. And that is the kind of expectation we have on the male, right? And in June, we celebrated the Father's Day, and we brought 2 men into the house. And they also said the same thing about the unrealistic expectations, the fact that they don't feel, they don't enjoy, they don't, there's no kindness from their partner and the people around and all. And we're able to trace this down to the fact that the way we bring up the male gender is different from the way we are bringing up the female gender. So I'm saying all this for us to know that this is like a continuous conversation we want to have. Either the man is from the male gender or whatever, we're talking about the upbringing of our children. And right now we are faced with a different generation, the woke generation. So I want to start with Yeti Williams. Yeti, what do we mean when we say the woke generation?
It's a very good question. And I actually prepared a slide around this. Is it possible to project?
Admin, please allow Yeti to share her screen. Admin, are you there? Mofe, are you there?
Okay, I see that I can actually.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right. So, you know, as we're preparing for this, I thought it's very important, and I know PF says this a lot, understanding the root of a word and where it actually comes from. So I actually did that, and I said, you know what, we all talk about woke generation. What does it actually mean? So the slide I want to show you is a slide that actually explains where that came from, the terminology woke, how it became something that everybody is using in the world today, and also how it's been misunderstood a little bit. Because right now, sometimes people use the woke generation to be a bit derogatory, like, oh, you woke people, and you know, more type of thing, like, yeah, sit down in that your woke corner. But that's actually not the root of where wokeness, quote and unquote, comes from. So first of all, the reason the woke generation seems to have a different type is the fact that they're digital natives, the term for people born in the digital era. So Gen X and younger. They are also referred to as I generation, and they can be described as having been born with the digital DNA, which is why a lot of our children know how to navigate the digital world much faster, much quicker than we are. We are the ones who learned it. They were born into it. But the next slide is the one I actually want to show you, which talks about what it means. What's the definition of being woke? I looked in the dictionary, and it actually means they are aware of and actively attentive to important facts and issues, especially issues of racial and social injustice. Now, the word woke was actually added to the Oxford English Dictionary in June 2017. But the history of the word is from a gentleman called Melvin Kelly, who wrote this many, many, many years ago. And he was the first person to refer to that word woke. And it was in an article that he titled, "If You Are Woke, You Dig It." And basically what he was talking about in that article and how he used the word woke was about being aware and also celebrating, African-American Black lingo. It was celebrating it and talking about how the way Black people speak is different. And it was like an essay inviting other cultures to understand, what it means to be woke. However, the word came into everybody's language around Black Lives Matter. And that was when Stay Woke really came up, and most people are actually using it. So I thought it was important for us to understand where it comes from, what it means. It means being aware. It means being open and sensitive to issues that are going on, not just about you, your local government, your street, your family, but an awareness on a bigger, broader level of racial, social justice, injustice. And that's what it means. And because we're in a digital age, guess what? Our children don't need us necessarily for them to paint a picture of what they think is fair or unfair. They have access to this information just the same way we do. So I just thought, you know what, let's even go back to the basics. What does it mean to be woke? And of course, the whole world has taken it to mean something else. And then we seem to have this divide where one generation is on this side pointing fingers at the woke generation. But wokeness is not a bad thing if you understand where it's coming from. And then the next thing we'll delve into is how do we start to use it in a context where, it's not misused and abused. All right, thank you.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you for taking us back to the root, to the source of wokeness. And I think what I can pick from what you have talked about now is the fact that wokeness is being aware, being actively involved in what is going on. And in this part of the world where I come from, I think that is the wokeness, that these children, they know it all, they understand. And that their knowledge is different from what we know. And you also said something about the fact that they see everything on social media. We don't need to teach them. They have the information. They are exposed to all this information. And so it is, in fact, they know it more than us, because there are some sites you wouldn't go to that they freely go there. We have prejudice. We have, about some sites, and we don't want to read. We don't want to. We have prejudice about some topic, about some things we don't want to even get involved with. But they are so audacious and daring, and they go on to read about it. And this is where some of the disparities, this is where some of the way they think is different from how we think, because we are coming from a particular background that has even restricted us, domesticated us to think and reason in a particular direction. Okay, Sophina, so that we all be on the same page, what does woke, what do we mean when we say woke generation? Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Good morning again, everyone. And yeah, exactly what Yeti has explained, because even for me, when I hear terms that are being used all around, I like to go back to the source to say, okay, why are we actually using this term? What does this term mean? And I did a bit of Google research, just like what Yeti did. And for me, when I saw the word that they are alert to injustice. So when this woke generation is a generation that is awake to injustice, they're alert, they're aware of the injustice that are happening, and they're not keeping quiet about it. And for me, I always kind of bring things back to the home. So this woke generation out there, yes, they are alert to injustice. Let's now bring it home. And that injustice can mean so many things from the home front. And excuse me, what tends to then happen is that it clashes with how we were brought up. Because in our days, when we saw things that were not unfair, that were unfair, we didn't really talk about it. It was just like, okay, the elders have spoken, and we are here, we just shut our mouths up and just get on with life. And now this generation is not just getting on with life. This generation will tell you that you're wrong, either through words, verbally, or through their actions. And what is happening now is a lot of the actions and stuff are clashing with kind of values that we've had before in the past. And I'm very mindful that we don't, and as Yeti pointed that part as well, I'm very mindful that we don't term the woke generation in a negative way. Because I tell you, this generation is a great generation, no matter what we see. Yes, they're different from us. That's not a problem, because we are different from our parents' generation. So when we use the word woke, I am hoping that we're meaning it from a more positive way, where they are awake to the injustice of the world. And the injustices of the world starts from our homes. When we constantly judge them, when we constantly criticize them, when we constantly pick at them, when we constantly compare them to other people, that's not fair. And that's what they are now awake to. And that is what they're, in a way, rebelling against. And one of the advices that I advise young people, because I do a lot of work with young people, is when you disagree with someone, it's not about being aggressive about it. There's a way to go about it so that the person can understand your point of view. If we go aggressively into everything that we want or we need, then we're not going to get the answers. So I think defining the woke generation is this current generation that we have, the Gen Z and the Alpha generation and the Generation Alpha. But it's about seeing them from a more positive point of view. And that's what I see. And when I saw the word alert to injustice, I grabbed it and I said, yes, okay, I agree. They are alert to the injustices that happens in our families. They're not taking it. And that's good. And I love that. And it's how we as families, it's how we as parents, is how we as carers, teachers, caregivers, it's how we then say, okay, how can we work with this generation? Because we need to work with this generation. This generation are the future leaders. We're not going to be leading in 50 years' time. We're going to be sitting down looking at our legacy for how many people are as old as this. So the question is, how are we defining the woke generation in our own daily terminologies, in our own terms? Are we coming from a positive point of view, or are we talking down to them, criticizing them for everything that they're doing wrong? We're not perfect. So how are we taking that word up? And that is really, really key in these discussions, because let's remember that every time that we are criticizing this generation, every time that we are condemning this generation because of the things that they're doing, let's remember that as we do that, we are disconnecting from them. As we do that, we are disconnected from them. So the conversations, the conversations that we as families should be having is about how do we then connect with this woke generation? How do we connect? How do we speak to them? How do we communicate with them? How do we go along with them? And going along with them doesn't mean that we don't correct them, be quiet about what they're doing, but it's how do we, as families, because it's what we do in the families that would then be shown in the world. So today, the 57 of us here, how are we raising this generation? And that is key, because for them to be alert to injustice, I love it. I love that they are alert to injustice. I love it. But the key now is defining and teaching them really how to even do it in a proper way that will bring results. And I think that's the key. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Fina. That's very phenomenal. And I hear you. And so you have helped us to narrow it down to where we really want to focus. Yeti also talked about the fact that it is their stage of awareness. It is a state of awareness and actively involved. You have brought it to the point of it is a state where they are so alert to injustice. The way we were brought up, you can't talk, keep quiet. And in fact, up till now, some of the adults don't even have the right words to articulate how they feel because of the way they were raised, right? But this generation, their awareness, they are being involved actively in all those things, help them to give them the confidence to say, see, this is an injustice. They're so alert to it and they have the right words to describe and to talk about it. And this is where the issue is with the family. You said they are alert to injustice, not only in the society, but even from the home front. And that's where the trouble started from. That's where the trouble starts from, because they're contending with the authority, in quotes, of the parents. And this is where the fight starts from. This is where the misinterpretation and the misappropriation of the word come from. And this is why we are here. So before I take us into where the conversation will really start, Yeti, who woke these children?
It's a very good question. Who woke them?
Mm-hmm.
And were they sleeping? Yeah. Growing up, I used to ask a lot of questions. I used to say why a lot, and it used to frustrate my mom. She will say, because I said so. And I'll say, but that's not good enough. You haven't really answered the question. I was a middle child, and that's a whole other conversation about middle children. But I realized that I was always very curious and I used to have a lot of questions. I didn't just do what people said I should do. I always asked, but why? Why? In hindsight, it all makes sense now, because even the whole idea of Lagos Homes came from, how do we ensure? I had lovely parents. My parents were fantastic. They did what they knew to do. But as I became a mom myself, I found that curiosity came into my parenting. And I said, things need to be a bit different. I also identified that we were in a different world. We are in the fourth industrial revolution. So when we say who woke the children up, the whole world just changed around the children. So we should stop saying things like children of today. I don't even label them children of today. Oh my God, it's so challenging. No, it is just the world we live in. I did a course many years ago about first industrial revolution, second industrial revolution, third industrial revolution, fourth industrial revolution. We are in the fourth industrial revolution, which is the digital age. Now, when all those revolutions started, things happened and shifted. For example, when I think it was the second industrial revolution, I forget now, but that was when people in the US started moving away from home, because wherever they moved to, guess what? McDonald's was there. The things they were used to was there. So it was easy for migration to happen. Now, as a result, imagine a parent who says, no, you can't move. You must stay with me on my farm. You cannot go anywhere. And you have a child saying, but I have opportunities. My company is willing to send me to Oregon, pay me 20 times what I'm earning in Mississippi, and you're saying I can't go. How far? That parent then will say, these children of nowadays, can you imagine? So I think it's very important we don't draw this line, because when you build that wall, your children will tell you to your face with words, with actions, that you are irrelevant, you don't understand them, then you will label them woke. They are not woke. They are not woke beyond anything. They are just living in a world that we have brought them into. It's adults that created the internet. It's adults that created Snapchat. It's adults that created all these tools they are using. However, as a parent, how are you saying, you know what, this is the world our children live in. For my home, we have values, we have expectations, we have a good relationship, so that we can continuously be talking about what is going on, what they are facing. If anything, I'm not even sure I'll call them the woke generation. I'll call some of the parents we have today the sleeping generation. They don't want to move with the times. They don't want to say, all right, in context of what is going on now, what do I need to shift? When I work with parents and I find a parent who's resistant, I will listen to them. Maybe, for example, I see a father who's saying, no, my child must just listen to me and do. I'll be like, interesting. And then when we go back a little bit, I will ask questions like, so if your child tells you they want to study oil and gas now, or go and study something to give them a job in oil and gas versus something in fintech, what will you say? Oil and gas, that industry is like, it's not how we used to be. So I think I would encourage my child to go into fintech, to learn technology. Do you see what I'm saying? That same parent has seen that, you know what, the world we live in is different, and the skill set my child needs might not be oil and gas that I used to shout about. A university recently in the UK, I forget which one, I heard that they actually shut down the part of the academic, what am I saying? The department, something about masters in petroleum engineering or something. They actually shut it down because they want to revamp it. Nobody should go to be studying anything about petroleum nowadays because we're moving towards what, sustainable energy and all of that. So parents need to stop being stuck. Nobody has woken up beyond what the environment and the times that we're in demands. Parents need to be more empathetic. They need to be educated about what's going on now. When you have empathy for the world that your children live in, all this injustice is the same sense of injustice that made the civil rights movement happen, right? Black people in the US said, you know what, actually, why are we living this way? So they too were woke now, right? What are people that fought for independence in Nigeria? Were they not woke? They woke up to say we need to have our independence from the white people, from British. So we have to be very careful. I hate labeling because I think when you label, you miss the essence, you miss the point of what is going on. So let's stop this label, this generation, these children today, they don't accept injustice. What about when women couldn't vote? So have we woken up now that we can vote, or that we also have rights, or that we should be able to earn the same with a man who got the same education as I did? So we have to be very careful not to be hypocritical. And when our children sense hypocrisy, that's what I feel. And the wall comes up, they're like, forget you. You just want to say one thing, but you're living another thing. So in my view, who woke them up? I don't know if anybody was sleeping necessarily, but it's just the times that we're in, they evolve. And as parents, when we are educated, see, the way I talk to my children is never from pointing fingers. It's trying to understand them. And then from there, we're like, okay, what are we going to do about that? Because there's still a way to respond. That is where parenting comes in. Like Fina mentioned, because you have a point or you disagree, does not give you the right to be rude, does not give you the right to be offensive and aggressive. No, there's a way to talk. There's a way to tell me that same thing, because if you don't say it in the right tone at home and you don't learn it here, where do you want to learn it? So that's the way I would say it. It's not us versus them. It's the world that we live in. And then we all need to be empathetic, educated, and understand how to communicate effectively so that our children, they still need us for context, because they can get all the content in the world. It doesn't mean what they find on Google is the best for them if somebody at home is not helping them to make sense of it. So my big hashtag on my phone, everywhere in my head is I am needed for context, not necessarily content, because they can get the content without me. Thank you.
Whoa, thank you so much, Yeti. From this perspective, I'm so excited that we are having this conversation, that it is not as if anything happened to them. It is the generation that we're in. Our forefathers that fought for independent work at that time, to get to a point, it means that life is evolving and we have to move with the way the society or the world is evolving. And this is why we are here. Somebody wrote in the chat that our children saw the way we were treated unjustly and they don't want it. And that is why all this is happening, right? And so, Yeti, you also said something about, and so we should not be angry. We should not see it as us against them, but that we are together. It's just that they are waking up to something different, right? So it means that we need to become something to be able to manage and handle these people, isn't it? So Fina, that's what I want to talk about. That I want you to talk about. And when you were talking, you said there's a way to go about it. How are we defining them? And so we should not disconnect from them. So what are we supposed to do? Who are we supposed to become? Who are we supposed to become, to handle, to live, to understand? I love the analogy Yeti gave about the wokeness of our forefathers, the past generations, which opened our eyes to different things away from the archaic way of life. So we also need to wake up to see that, the times are changing. It is not the days of doctor and lawyer, where everybody wants their children to become a medical doctor or a barrister. and all. Fintech, you know, this is time, you know, my daughter came up with say that, I want to study performing arts. And we're like, performing arts, where, why, for what, why, you know? So the way they think, it took me a long time to accept it. And I just discovered that this is their reality. This is the world we are waking into, and we need to find out, who do we need to become?
Yeah. I love that question, because when you say, who do we need to become, that is what parenting is about. I wrote a quote some time ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, and I said, parenting is more than a role. It's a behavior, it's an example, and it's a template of character. That's my definition. That's a quote I wrote 2 weeks ago. And so your question is very vital, because parenting is about, who are we becoming? There's a quote I always love to share by Alvin Toffler, who says, the illiterates of the 21st century are not going to be those who cannot read or write. You know, back in the days, we called people that didn't go to school, we called them illiterates. Alvin Toffler is saying that the illiterates of this century, the 21st century, are not going to be those that cannot read or write. It's going to be those who are unwilling to learn, unlearn, and relearn. So in parenting and becoming who our children can relate to, it's who are we becoming? Yet he talked about empathy. Empathy is a big, massive part of our characters, of who we need to aim to be becoming. It was 2 days ago. I read a post, and it was they were answering a question to a mother of a 4-year-old son. The 4-year-old son said, the mother said the 4-year-old son gets very angry, and shouts when he gets very angry, very temperamental, he's very, very angry. And so she wants to know how to deal with it. That when he wants something, he wants it, and if he doesn't get it, and he gets very angry. Then in the part of that comment, in part of her message, she said, but my husband can be very, can get angry as well, but he makes sure that he is not angry in front of the child. So what can she do? And you know what? I was so heartbroken with the comments. There were up to 300 and something comments. Just flog him, flog the 4-year-old, so that the 4-year-old understands the consequences. I'm like, what? So I went back to the message to check the age of the child, 4-year-old. 90% of the comments were saying he needs consequences. If not, he will get away with it. Flog him, flog. It's like, whoa. I was shocked. So I wrote my own comments. I said, flogging is not going to do anything to that child. But you've said he gets angry. Then deal with the anger. You can say that you are angry or dad is angry, but don't show it in front of the child. Who told you that they don't hear it? Even if you're not being angry in front of him, out in the kitchen when he's in the living room, you're angry. Or in the living room when he's in the kitchen, he can hear it. Anger is not about what they see, is what they hear, is the atmosphere they feel in the home. And so when we talk about who should we become, there's a lot of unlearning to do. A lot of unlearning. Why would 90-something% of 300 and something people commenting on a post say to flog a 4-year-old? And then, on the back of that, we then complain of the generation. If you're flogging someone at 4, what are you expecting them to become? Or who are you expecting them to become? So in becoming this parent who can understand this generation and who can grow with this generation, we've got a lot of unlearning to do. We've got a lot of unlearning. Because when we only think violence, when we only think punishments in terms of raising this generation, then guess what? We are losing our own voices. And it's happening. It's happening today. Many teenagers are not listening to their parents. So go to young adults. I hear many parents of young adults who are saying that their young adults are coming to them now and saying, what you did was so wrong. And parents are hurt. Parents are distraught because all the money they've spent on their children, and yet their children are now saying what you did was wrong. How do you think they're feeling? They're feeling very frustrated and hurt about it. But it all starts with, who are we becoming as parents? The things that we need to unlearn, they are key, because we're all learning. There are many parenting programs now. And sorry, my voice, I just raised my voice a little bit now because when I remember that post, my head was just all over the place. We are learning a lot, and it's great. But that learning has to come with unlearning some stuff. Because the more we learn, if we're not unlearning some things, we're wasting our time. We're not going to get the results that we want to get as in our families if we do not take the unlearning process as serious as we take the learning process. It's key in who we are becoming. If not, the scale is very uneven. We're learning, yet unlearning is there. We're not moving with unlearning. We've got to learn and unlearn for it to make sense. And you know what? Yeah, this is something I need to tell parents. I always love to tell parents. Back in the days, yeah, our parents could tell us, oh, don't talk to a boy, because if you talk to a boy, you get pregnant. Okay, hear this. We didn't have the internet to prove our parents wrong. So we believed our parents. For 20 years and so we believed our parents until we got into university or until we left home. That's when we now saw, oh, what they were saying was wrong. Today, tell your child something. The first place your child will go to is Google. Google. Did what my mom say is right? Google will tell them no. Your children will look at you as a liar or you're not authentic. So we can't get away with things that our parents got away with before. And in this generation, if we don't start to unlearn the things that are coming up in the future, you guys are going to be shocked with what's going on. Because our children, I was talking to young people the other day, and you know how we say, honor your mother and father and stuff like that. And our children are asking, what are the mother and fathers doing? Because you can call yourself a mother and father, but what is your relationship with your child? Our children have many more options now. So I would encourage families to start first by unlearning, because we are doing a lot of learning. What are the areas that you know that is not working well in your homes? What do you need to do in terms of unlearning? We all have areas to unlearn. Is it in the way we listen to our children? Is it in the way we dismiss our children? Is it in the way we criticize our children because we think we're correcting our children? I heard that there's a research that went to say that if you look at 90% of the corrections that parents make to their children, if you look into the sentences and look into it, none of them, there are no corrections there at all. Daniel, why is your room untidy? You always leave your room untidy. I don't know what is wrong with you. You never listen. You always do it. Where is the correction in all that sentence? So look into the way that you correct your children. Look into the way you communicate with your children. If someone speaks to you in that manner, how would you feel? That's one test. If your boss at work speaks to you the way you speak to your child, how would you as a parent feel? And that's the test to weigh what we're doing. Because this generation, they will tell you. They will tell you. They will confront you. So it's key. It's a big conversation to have. But the thing I want to take out of this segment part is, what are the things that you need to unlearn? Olufemi needs to mute.
Admin, can you please mute?
Yeah, so that's key. That's the part that I wanted to talk about in this segment, is what are we unlearning in line with what are we learning. So we're learning, but what also are we unlearning is key. Thank you.
Wow, that is so deep. That is so deep that we need to unlearn, becoming who our children can relate with. As we are learning, we should unlearn some things. We are not supposed to go ahead with some of those things, because those things will also come to sabotage what you are learning. Pay attention to it. You said we need to be empathic. We need to deal with the behavior, not the child. You can't throw the child and the bath, the water and the child away, right? And Fina also said something about, if you think violence and punishment is the solution, then you will lose them. And this is where we are presently. A lot of families are losing their children. This is where we are, right? So Yeti, I don't know. It's becoming very overwhelming because, and I'm glad you also mentioned it, Fina, that fine, parents now go out to learn. We are open to learning these days. But that aspect of unlearning is what I want to talk about, Yeti, and I want you to talk about it. This unlearning, in our own time, discipline, domestication was discipline. We were domesticated. And so a lot of people are damaged already. A lot of people are damaged already. Some people don't even know what they can't even explain their behavior. They just, I've been in counseling session with parents and they say, I don't even know how to stop, you know? And it is part of the becoming. So I need you to speak to that. I need you to speak to how to deal with that damage that has been done to us, because that is majorly where we need to unlearn. Thank you, Yeti.
Great point. And Fina, thanks for sharing, everything you did. And sometimes, I realize that even when we think that we're learning and we're moving ahead, you hear comments, you have conversations, and you wonder, are we even scratching the surface? Like, are we actually moving as a parenting community? I see us as we're all part of the same community, right? And so wherever you're from, if we're not actually growing as a set of parents for these children we're raising for the future. In fact, I say I'm not raising children, I'm raising adults. So I have used it on myself, and I created something I call the parenting vision board, which I take parents through. And it's the idea of creating a vision board for each adult you are raising. And then to do that work needs you to do a lot of deep soul searching. What are your strengths? What is your parenting style? What's your child's love language? What kind of adults are you trying to raise? I'm not talking about saying, I want my child to be a doctor, lawyer. No, that's controlling. Like, truly, what are the characteristics you are wishing for in your child? Because hope is not a strategy. You need to have the plan. To be an intentional parent, you need to say, what am I intending as I am parenting each child? What do I want them to become as an adult? For example, parents will say, I want them to be tough. Okay. What does tough mean? I just want, when you take that time to break down each thing you say, that is when you have a plan. So for example, my husband is big on saying, these children have to be resilient. And I'm like, okay, what does resilient mean? Resilient now. Explain it. What does it mean? If you cannot dimension what you're trying to achieve, there's no way you can achieve it. Now, a lot of parents, people say things like, in my day, they flogged me. Did you turn out okay? Let's be honest. I ask people, is it every child? Look at Africa, look at Nigeria. Okay, we're big on flogging. Has that flogging led us to a nation that's working? In some of the Western world, different parts, you will be in trouble as a parent if your child goes to school and says, I was flogged at home. So in those Western worlds or different countries, let's pick the UK, for example, where they don't flog all their children, is the society working or not working? We need to be able to ask ourselves these questions, that everything is not all good or all bad. I'm not saying everything about all the people in the UK, everybody here or any Western world is perfect. No, what I'm saying is we need to be careful not to make this total comment that Did they not flog me growing up? Did I not turn out well? Hello, did you actually? So we need to be willing to ask those questions. Another thing that has made parenting challenging, in my view, is the fact that a lot of parents are not aware of their mental health state. Hurt people hurt people. Dysfunctional people perpetuate a dysfunctional environment. So unless you have, I say everybody needs therapy. I believe everybody needs coaching. Everybody needs, if you have never taken the time to unpack who you are as an adult, and maybe it's also my NLP training that has taught me to test my brain. Why am I saying this is how I am? Says who? When you understand that your brain is a muscle that you can train to give you the life that you want, you realize that you should not be a victim of your past as much as we allow ourselves to be victims of the past. If you desire a different future, if you desire to have children who become adults, who are your friends, who seek you out, who want to spend time with you, who are not just waiting to get away from the house, then you need to check yourself. If you don't start that exercise on yourself without judgment, without blame, and say, you know what, did I really turn out okay? Who am I? And sometimes all it takes is a therapy session for a few sessions. I also recently did CBT training, cognitive behavioral therapy. I'm fascinated by the power our brain has. And I'm teaching my children that already. You can create the future that you want. It lies with you. Any area you see a challenge with, speak about it. No emotion in itself is bad. So when you raise children, you have an environment in the home where no emotion is bad. So if a child is angry, well, what happened? Let the child, it's okay to be, is it okay? Is it bad to be angry sometimes? Absolutely not. It is when we stifle certain emotions in our children, they don't learn the right way to communicate, to deal with the emotion. That is what becomes aggression later. You say things like, oh, a boy is just being a boy. It's okay, boys hit. No, why should he hit? If you're angry, there are ways to deal with it. Breathe, go for a walk. But just as Fina mentioned earlier, what are you doing, mommy and daddy? Are you saying, how can you be angry? I will slap you. But hello, you have just shown anger. You have just shouted, but you are being hypocritical and telling that child he or she cannot show anger. No. When you are angry, how do you respond? So the difference now is that we do have a mental health awareness. We do have a mental health challenge. A lot of parents don't have the emotional intelligence to even deal with the world they are in. Let me say that again. A lot of parents don't even have the emotional intelligence and the resilience to deal with the world that they are in. Then on top of that, you are saying, come and raise some children in the same world where you are ill-equipped to actually thrive, but somehow you're supposed to be magical and raise children who will thrive. It's not possible. So when we understand the issues, the underlying issues, and we dimension them, we can start saying, what are we going to do about it? Otherwise, all these parenting courses are great, but if we don't fundamentally say, what is my family's DNA? What strengths do I bring to the table? There's some funky weaknesses I have to take out of the home and my parenting and say, you know what, that one does not play a part here. If truly I'm saying I want to raise a daughter and a son who have all these skills. My husband has certain strengths that we must bring to the table, and some that were like, you know what, in this area, I'd be like, said, you will just, we have to be honest like that. So to summarize, what does it mean? We need to be aware that the WHO has said that depression is going to be the leading cause of disability by 2030. That is a fact. There was a time it was HIV. Everybody learned what does it mean. Then he moved to, all kinds of cancers. Now we know, don't microwave this. So I am never moved by, oh my God, the day we're in, yeah. No, I realize that there are patterns. I've always loved to say there are patterns. When you understand that there are patterns, when you understand that you're a parent for such a time as this, and you are willing to do the work, when we say unlearn, I want us to be careful to not to be saying, we find a way to be very, what's what I'm looking for? To say buzzwords. Abby, I'm going to unlearn to relearn. What are you relearning? How exactly are you relearning it? And then as you relearn, are you applying it? And are you staying consistent applying it? Because children thrive with structure, they thrive in consistency. So today you cannot shout, then tomorrow you are saying you're not shouting. Next tomorrow you shout again. Children are like, Jekyll and Hyde, what's wrong with you? What exactly do you stand for? And I'll end this by saying something that happened yesterday. So my children are 14 and 12, and I've always raised them like this: speak your mind, be polite about it. No emotion is wrong in itself. All those things, you know, I'm leaving what I'm doing. I don't want them to be going and say, Lagos moms, don't mind her. This is not what she's doing at home. Oh. So we need, it's always been my own calling to ensure that what I'm preaching, teaching is what I'm living at home. So it's summer. I'm focused on raising responsible digital citizens. That's the whole space we haven't even entered. What is going on in this digital world that children are living in? And a lot of parents are leaving their children, and they will come back and they will ask you that, but how far? Well, you know, my parents, how come you did not protect me in this digital world I'm living in? Anyway, so they understand the rules around digital time, screen time. I have all these controls on their phones. They understand why I have the controls. I've explained to them what's happening from a brain perspective, development perspective, if they have excessive screen time. So they understand it. They don't have to like the rules, but they understand where it's coming from. So I was saying to my son the other day that you are sleeping too late. He said, Mom, but it's summer now. You have explained to us how many hours of sleep we need. Guess what? Even if I sleep at midnight, because it's summer and I'm waking up at 9 a.m., I'm getting 9 hours of sleep. Actually, Mom, I'm getting more sleep now during the summer than even during the school term. So what really is the problem? Do you know I just kept quiet? I said, actually, you're very right. Did he not explain to me? Did he not break it down and show that he understands the need for sleep? He's telling me that I have calculated it. I know I'm getting enough sleep. So imagine I'm saying, I'm like, how can you say that to me? You will just say, what's wrong with this woman? That's what I say. Actually, you explained that really well. You're right, actually. He's like, Mom, don't worry. We have summer for only how many months a year? Things will go back to normal soon. And, you know, I just calmed down and I said, you're right. So I hope this makes some sense. Let's stop being, let's calm down. I keep saying, parenting, drop the drama, calm down, be breathing, and listen to these children. Thank you, Ebun.
Yay! Mama Mileko said we should be Shankale. We should calm down, right? Wow, I'm so excited about this conversation this morning. Thank you so much, Yechi. Thank you, Fina. Thank you so much, everyone that is in the house. Please, let's drop our questions. Let's drop our questions. You can see it's hot in here, and it's just so amazing the way our guests are responding to this question. Thank you, Yeti. Thank you for helping us know that emotional intelligence and resilience will help us deal with all those things. And so we need to get healing from your past hurts. You also mentioned that hurting people will hurt people, and that is why that thing comes up when your daughter or your child does something, you just react. It is because that's what you have in your unconscious, and of course it is being triggered, and that is going to be the response. So when you're trying to unlearn, just calm down and be honest with yourself. Be honest. You know, was it yesterday a friend of mine shared what the son told him, and it was very funny because it's the same thing we are talking about. You just share the experience of your child saying that if I sleep late, I'll still wake up now and I still have more sleep, right? So that I think there's this competition. He registered the son to partake in music competition or something, and the boy just said, okay, why not, let me do it. And before the boy knows it, the daddy has hired a lesson teacher to brush him through and all. And the boy just came up and said, Daddy, you're just too extra. What's the problem? This is meant to be a simple, fun thing, and you're making it too serious. Well, I just want to have fun, you know, because that is we are raised to be competitive. And these are part of the things we need to unlearn. These children, they are not out for competition. They just want to have fun and be who they are created to be. And so we need to pay attention to all these things. Thank you so much, Yeti. Thank you, Fina, for this. I want to talk about I want us to go deep into the emotional part more, Yeti. Because so I want to say that if the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. Peradventure, some of us don't even know that we are causing our children harm, a lot of harm. I don't know if you guys saw the video that went viral recently of a 13-year-old that was addressing the police in, I think it's in the US, I think it's Texas, yeah. And she was saying, I'm 13, you guys don't, and the girl was so assertive. She was talking from a place of anxiety and fear. And it's as a result of the violence that is happening around. So that is the violence created in the society. What about the violence from the home? The way we talk to those children. Fina, I want you to, so we say they are woke, we say the way they think, the way they react, the way they do things is different. And so we do some things to damage them emotionally. Yeti pointed some things out when she was talking about the way we talk to our children. So emotionally, who do we need to become? I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, Fina. Yeah, I want you to talk to that. And I remember you also shared a video on your page, IG page, of a girl that was talking about, I can't be friends with my parents. How can I, you remember that video? Yeah, so you can imagine, and she was able to talk about it. You guys are joking. How can I be friends with my parents? They're causing me so much pain and all. So I want us to talk about the emotional part. How do we deal with this? And for those of us that have grown-up children that we are already recollecting our report card, what can we do, right? Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it follows on from what Yeti mentioned about emotions.
Yeah.
And this generation connects a lot with emotions. And I don't even want to say it's only this generation. I think we all, human beings in general, we are all emotionally connected. It's just that when we were growing up, we weren't taught how to express those emotions. We weren't taught that our emotions were valid. We weren't taught that. But when we're talking about the statistics of what Yeti said about in how many years' time, depression is going to be one of it's going to be the biggest cause, of thing there. We have to see how depression connects to emotions. It's an emotional thing. It's an emotional thing. And what has happened is we have grown up with a lot of dismissals. Oh, you're just talking. Oh, stop talking. Oh, you talk too much. Dismissing, or if a child is trying to talk to you, get out of here or go to your room. And so there's a lot of disconnection emotionally in the way that we say things. So it's very, very key again, because again, this generation, human beings, we connect emotionally. How does someone make you feel? If you have a friend who is constantly dismissive to you and constantly putting you down, and then you have another friend who welcomes you, who doesn't criticize you, who is not judgmental to you, who would you be closer to? You're going to be closer to the friend who is more accepting of you, who is not judgmental, because we're not perfect. Even as parents, we're not perfect. We're learning every day. So it's about bringing that so that your child feels safe. We talk about digital safety and stuff. It's also the safety at home, emotional safety. Our children, are they safe emotionally in their homes? And the answer to that many a times is no. And when children are not safe emotionally, they act out. That's where you see when you see children that are being very aggressive, that are being very wayward, that are just doing things out there. We're very quick to bring out those young people who have done something, like the girl when they went to the school that went to Dubai, and the girl was doing that, or the boy, so we're very quick to highlight all those stories that are like, oh my God, this generation, what is going on in this world? You talk to a lot of them, emotionally unsafe. They've not had that safety emotionally. Because if they're safe emotionally, there's no need to do all that, because that's not making them feel better. They're looking for they're looking for love. They're looking for safety. That's what it is. But they're now looking for it in the wrong places because they didn't get it in our homes. And so when we talk about things like the things we're talking about here, I want parents to really remember that it's our mindset really matters in this whole process. Our mindset matters. If we conclude that, well, you know, these things that you guys are talking about is a Western thing, we are here, it's Nigeria for us, this, that. Your child is not Nigerian. When I say not Nigerian, of course you're from Nigeria, but your child is not thinking Nigerian anymore. Please note that. Your child has the internet. Your child is relating with their peers globally. A global citizen, exactly, Obina. A global citizen, whether the child is 2 years old, by the time the child is watching cartoons, the child is already thinking globally. The child is already thinking globally. So we've got to be emotionally aware. And it's not about just being, it's not something to read and write and say, okay, yes, let's learn how. We've got to practice it. We've got to go back to the beginning. What are our strengths, as Yeti said? Where do we have those gaps? I'll tell you a little story about myself. So my dad passed away when I was 5 years old, and very sudden death. I mean, he drove my mom that night. My mom was a nurse, drove my mom to the hospital for her night duty, came back, was going to pick her up, but she said, you know, don't worry, I'll come back with one of my friends. And then while in hospital, going through the thing, an ambulance comes in, her team goes out to get the person, the patient on the stretcher. And she's looking out there, and it's the same husband that brought her to work. And he didn't make it. He did not make it back that night. He died. So the shock of it all, we didn't speak about my dad for over 10 years in my home. And me, as a 5-year-old, I didn't understand what happened. No one explained what was going on. I just saw that my dad was no more with us. Okay, they said he died, but what does death mean to a 5-year-old? And so the 5-year-old concluded that her dad had left, that something was wrong with her. She felt ashamed that she didn't have a dad. And these are the kind of emotions she carried along with her as she was growing. Shame, rejection. So of course she wants to be friends with people, or she's feeling she needs to please people to become friends. And you can imagine the kind of stuff that is going on in this girl's life. The mom meant well, because the mom is still dealing with the shock in her own way. But we didn't talk about it. And parents, generally, African parents, we don't talk about things like this to our children, because we feel, oh, the children is too young. Yeah, they're too young. They will not understand. But not knowing that the children then make up their own stories from the things that we haven't shared with them. And so even as a parent, as an adult, I had to start dealing with working on myself through counseling and stuff about not feeling that I was rejected, and the shame of my dad's death. I had to deal with that. So there's a lot of, as Yeti said, there's a lot of unpacking that we as individuals need to do to become that fully present, emotionally aware parent. If we don't know if we don't know our own gaps, if we can't fill out our own gaps, how can we help our children? How can we be emotionally present? I needed to deal with my stuff to then become emotionally aware and become emotionally present and give my children their own safety. Because I know how the conclusions I made, how it affected my life, I like to explain more to my children so that they don't make conclusions that will affect them negatively. But I had to go back to my own story. So the question is, what is your own story? What is your own story that you need to understand now that you know things better? Because now I'm looking back at the 5-year-old Fina, and I'm saying, it's okay. Your dad died. There's nothing to be ashamed about. But I carried shame for a long time. So what do we as individuals need to unpack in our lives? We have marriages that are falling, that's crumbling. And we might think that it's because of something that's happened in today. No, it's the childhood stuff that has not been unpacked, that is affecting marriages and affecting parenting. So emotional safety is very key, but we as individuals, we all have work to do. Because we cannot give what we don't have. If we've not been able to embrace our own childhood, if we've not been able to embrace our own inner child, then what can we bring to the table for our children today? And the last bit of the part that you asked, Evelyn, is that you asked about let's say now we know all this stuff, but we've brought up children already. What do we do? And I talk about repairing a lot, because we only did what we knew to do. Now that we know better, we're doing better. But many of us have raised children. We've got young adults, we've got 17-year-olds, 16-year-olds. What do we then do about that? We go back to the drawing table, talk to them, explain to them and say, you know what, I'm learning more now in parenting. And I've seen that there's some of the things that I did. I'm looking back and I'm thinking, nah, that didn't work. You have to admit it. Don't wait for your children to come and tell you. Because when your children come to tell you, they're going to tell you more in an accusing way. Mom, you did this. Dad, you did this. If you start the conversation, then it's a better conversation to have. I'm looking at some things that I did when you were growing up, and nah, it was not the right thing to do. And I'm very sorry about that. How can we then work better? And that the ego has to go down. You've got to let go of the ego of I'm the adult, I'm the mom, I'm the dad, to be able to do this work. Because you need the relationship with your children. You need that relationship even as they get older into adulthood. So it's about owning up to the things that we didn't know that we did. It's about owning up to that, not being embarrassed about it. It even gets your children to understand you and see you as even being very authentic. This generation relates to that a lot. They don't see it as, They don't see it as bad. They actually see it as, that's very genuine, that my mom and my dad can come and speak to me about their weaknesses and how they've learned to move on from that. So that's what I would say in a nutshell in regards to emotional safety and owning up to repair what we've done in the past. And that's key for moving on in our families.
Thank you so much, Fina. That was phenomenal. Whoa, it's a lot. It's a lot. We need to learn to become. We need to learn to own up. So owning up is part of the becoming.
Yes.
If you're able to say, I'm sorry I did this, and these children understand authenticity, you're also passing a message across to them to say that when I do something wrong, I can come back to say, see, I missed it here. This is how it is. Thank you so much. Thank you. You also said something about, when you were sharing your story, you said something about children making conclusions, and that's just it. They assume a lot. They just see things happening and they just assume that, okay. And so there's a need to explain. Let's be ready. Let's calm down, like Yeti said. Be in the right frame of mind to explain things. And of course, we are not able to do that. We shout and we're not able to put ourselves together to explain because of the pain, the burden that we are carrying. And that's why we're talking about healing. That's why we're talking about therapy. If you are able to work on yourself and be in the right state, it will be easier for you to relate with your children. And Fina said, we need to be whole so that we can help our children not to make assumption. Assumption is the lowest level of knowledge. And they grow up. Can you imagine how Fina grew up with that conclusion about the loss of her dad? And she carried that for years. A lot of us are also doing that. Children in broken relationship, broken marriages, children of divorced parents, you don't sit them down to talk to them, explain to them what is happening, let them understand. They are seeing it like I think it was Obina that said they are global citizens. They see more than you can imagine. So all you need to do is sit down and explain to them. I even discovered that children that their parents are going through divorce, children generally, that word divorce is traumatizing to them without even experiencing it. So when they hear the word divorce, there's this shaking, there's this fear, there's this anxiety that grips children's mind, especially when they see their parents fighting. They just say, are they going to get a divorce, And so there's a need to calm down and explain things to your children. We need to learn to do that. We need to learn to explain the reason why you're saying they should not do this. Have a conversation. Don't be the boss. Don't be the one in charge and enforce your own opinion. They are their own minds, except you're raising robots. Except we're raising robots. We should be ready. Okay, so I just want to look at what we have in the chat. Yes, you said we are not calm. It is Lagos way. See, recently I started thinking about this Lagos way thing. It is becoming a norm. It is becoming the way of life, and it is toxic. Very toxic. That's why we have even bosses in the office, and they see shouting at their subordinates, screaming and talking derogatorily on their subordinates as norm. You don't know the level of damage you're doing to these people. And if Lagosians can also start looking inward, we don't have to. And that's where the call for therapy comes in. Yeah, we need to start dealing with our mental health. Very important. And Ariola said, shame, shame, shame. How do you not shame children? As this is what we all grew up with at home, in school, on the street. Yes, before we take Ariola's question, I think Shegun Shonowo said he wants to explain. Can we hear? Admin, can you unmute Shegun Shonowo so that we can hear from him? Shegun, we would like to also see your face when you're talking. Is Shegun Shonowo here? Admin, please unmute Shegun.
Okay.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes. Hi, Shegun Shonowo. Good morning.
Thank you very much. Well, this comes very, very incidental, or it's a beautiful coincidence for me. This session this morning is a beautiful coincidence, very fantastic one. I'm presently within the premises of a school where my child is taking a transfer exam. And he's actually promoted to SS2 in his former school, in his school I was. But in my own opinion, when he was leaving the SS3, he's going to SS2. The school did an assessment, so I was told, and he was moved to science class. But based on our own orientation of a science student must be very bookish, you must study and read, and I felt he wasn't putting in that energy into his sciences. So somewhere along the line, we went into an agreement, and we said, okay, guy, if you don't have straight A's in your core subjects, you might have to repeat this class. We had that agreement, and he kept saying, okay, yes, he will do his best, even though when I could see the signal that he might not get to that point. At the end of the day, he didn't get A's in his core subjects. I felt for you to be assessed and you want to do this, I don't say you should get 90%, but at least show some level of good competence in your core subject. He didn't get that. So somehow I'm trying to make my threat real. Excuse me, please, come back. 25. I'm sorry, please. He's the one. He's trying to get my attention. We're in the school now where we're doing the transfer exam. So I told him that, okay, I'll make my threat real. I'll make it real. Though it was a threat, but the way you are, naturally, this boy is an intelligent child. Yeah, naturally. In fact, of all my children, is the most intelligent. I will say that. Yeah, by every assessment, he can engage an adult in a very beautiful conversation. So, but listening to the program this morning about impact on their career choice, on how they go and how they grow and all that, I felt though in my heart of hearts, I may not He may not repeat the class, but let me just take him through the process that this thing can be real. He did the exam last week. The feedback is that he did very well. Though he's going to SS2, he's going to be transferred to SS1. His other school is saying that, yes, he's just going to SS2, we can brush him up. My own thinking is that I don't want to get a child that will get to SS3 and will be struggling to gain admission, because I believe things are very, very competitive these days. Advanced education is more competitive than for a mediocre. You can't be an average student and say you want to compete. No. So that's just so that I won't take too much of our time. That's just the kind of, in quotes, dilemma I am in. I want to be guided. And as I said, this session is it's a beautiful coincidence for me, and I want to maximize the opportunity. Thank you very much. If there's any other clarification, I can still add.
All right. Thank you very much, Segun Sonowo, for being so vulnerable. Thank you so much. Yeti, I want you to respond to that. Thank you.
All right. If I understand correctly, there are two things going on. One is because his son did not get the grades he expected, he's trying to enforce the threat he had put in place, which was that he would repeat if he didn't get all A's. And secondly, it sounds like the school he's in, is it that the school wants to move him one grade above to SS2 versus going to SS1, or did I miss that? Can you clarify that second?
In his school presently, they promoted him. He's promoted from SS1 to SS2 naturally. I mean, normally.
Okay.
But based on our agreement, it's not maybe I use the word, it was an agreement we had. Both of us agreed. The only thing that was that we did not sign it, but we had a verbal agreement that was repeated more than once. And he consented to it because he himself knows he has the ability.
Sure. Okay.
He knows he has the ability. So it's not as if I'm trying to impose on him my own thing. I'm not even that brilliant. I'm not that brilliant. Yeah, I'll own up. I'm not that brilliant, but I'll just say.
Okay, understood. All right, well, the way I see this, honestly, is, okay, you had an agreement, and in your view, if you didn't get all A's, your view and your final, what do I even want to say? Your perspective of this is that not getting all A's means that he's not prepared and he's not ready, right? So we have to check that, Daddy, why? What are his grades? Who suggests that if you don't have all A's, you are not a strong enough academically student to be a science student? So I think we need to check that. And I understand, thread, but at the end of the day, it's not. Let me even give you a little bit of a background here. I have a brother who's, oh my goodness, he's like smartest when they talk about academically smart. But I found that, there are other things in addition to academics. It's not just pure academics. So when I chose schools for the children, I didn't focus on academics. They are very academically sound, but I didn't focus only on that. And in fact, when we started each class, I always went to each teacher and said, don't call my child smart. I want you to challenge them. I want you to look at teamwork. I want you to look at many other things, not just pure academics. So, Daddy, you need to manage it because you don't want to, number one, break his spirit. He's doing well. He didn't get the all A's that you chose that he should get. The school has assessed him. He is a strong candidate. He's able to do his work. Because he did not get all A's does not mean that he should be punished, because this is punishment. This is punishment, and you don't know how it's going to affect him long term. Have you had a conversation with him to say, oh, I see you didn't make all A's. Do you know what happened? Discuss that. What happened? Maybe he's like, but I did my best. If he did his best, praise him for doing his best. Don't only praise the outcome. Because a child who gets all A's and is stressed out, cheated, I'm just saying, you don't know sometimes what the child does to get all A's. But if you see a child who worked hard, who pushed themselves, and the results were not all A's, you can still praise the child for doing the best. So I would say that step back. You have already taken him now to do this transfer exam to, show that Daddy means business. Fine. But sit down and have a true meeting, heart to heart. Understand where he's coming from. How does he feel about the situation? How does he feel about the results that he got before you just transfer him because you are worried? Because all I hear is fear. You are worried that if he goes into SS2 without all A's, then you are projected that means that in SS3 he will struggle. Then that means that to enter secondary university he will struggle. Daddy, be calming down. So I hope that's helpful. I really think you need to step back and just...
Thank you very much.
Daddy, be calming down. Fina, you wanted to say something.
I promise.
Okay. Have the conversation with him truly. and maybe bring the teachers in as well, get their perspective. Is he fine? If he's okay, don't let your, and you said something to like you were not that brilliant. So you're bringing your fear again inside.
Projection.
Your lack, you're projected. So you see how we have to dimension this, and I'm glad you asked this question, because it will make you sit back and say, actually, let me be sure what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. Please, Fina.
You know what? Thank you so much. And you know what I love about this. Segun is a very involved dad, and kudos to you for that, because we need more dads. We need more dads to be involved. Your son is blessed to have you. That's what I'm going to say on this bit. So, and I love that you asked the question, because for you're asking the question because you're thinking, okay, I don't want to do something that is going to then, what will the future hold with this? So it's a very lovely question. And yet he has given all the answers, really. And I think the part that I wanted to bring in was, for your son to repeat a year is going to affect him very, very much. It's going to, that shame and all that stuff is going to come into place. And from what Yeti said as well, even if he didn't make A's now, there's still next term. There's still the term after. What we now need to do is sit with him to say, okay, for these exams that we took now that we didn't get these A's, what did we do and what did we not do? Okay, so maybe say we studied an hour every day. Okay, let's move it up to 2 hours every day. So it's now giving him practical tools in how he can move from not getting A's to getting A's. When you equip him with these tools and say, okay, and then have some accountability sessions with him. So at the end of the week or at the end of the month, let's see how we've gone so far. What have you done this week? What have you done this month that has pulled you forward? What tests have you taken? What past exam questions have you practiced? And what did you get in those past exam questions? You see, that's what will help you now see what kind of grades he can get for the next exam. So it's about bringing two of you, sit together, and have planned those accountability sessions. And you will see that because of those accountability sessions, your son will even be more motivated to do his work. It's, again, and somebody has said it here, it's not about the A's in particular. You did make a comment that you said your son is really smart, as well as he can join a conversation and speak very well in the conversation. Those are the traits that's what makes him successful. To be honest, that's actually what makes him successful. So kudos to you, Segun, for asking that question. Put in these practical tools that we've used and let him know that you believe in him, that even if he didn't get A's, that you still believe in him. And I think that's going to go a very, very long way. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Fina and Yeti. You have done good justice to that question. And thank you, Segun Shonowo, for raising that. Thank you for being vulnerable. And just like Fina said, thank you for being so involved with your kids. If you read the chats, the comments in the chat, you see parents, people are already raising placard for for the innocent boy. Somebody said, please don't let him repeat. Thank you so much, parents. Thank you. I really appreciate the love that we are showing in this community. Okay, so let's go to the next question. I think I saw a question before Segun raised. Just hold on there for me a little. But while I'm looking for the question, I think we can take Amala. Amala Okore, you want to ask a question? Yes, I can see your hand. Yes. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for this amazing session. I had a discussion yesterday with one of my friends around parents.
We're struggling to hear you, Amala. Are you using a headset or something? Yeah.
Yes, I am. Is this better?
Yeah, better.
Okay, so I had a discussion yesterday with a friend of mine who runs a school. Let me just paint the scenario. We're talking about parenting and the parents we have in this generation. So when she was telling me about a child who said something really nasty to another child in the class, and everybody saw it. Everybody heard him. And the child actually, when he was taken to her, she's the head teacher. The child agreed that, yes, I said it because I was angry. So when the mom was called on phone, she said, no, my son would never say that. My son would never say a thing like that. Don't put on my child what he didn't do. We don't talk like that, And, she said she was a bit confused. Your son said this in a class. It wasn't a personal conversation, and everybody heard him. And she said, no way. I know the child I've raised. This is not him. You're putting on him something he didn't do. So she actually came to the school to, pick a fight with them that, they were blaming her child for what her child didn't do. And so when the child was called from class, as the child came in, she started with, oh, Jeremy, I'm so sorry they're making you feel this way. I know you didn't do it. I'm so proud of you. Mommy's going to stand by you and all that and all that. And the child said, Mommy, I did it. And what I said came right from my inside. So I was like, where do we draw this line? Or how do we draw a line between being very overprotective and, will I say, oversure of who our children are, and also being responsible enough to own up when our children behave other than what we think or feel that they should have done, and being responsible enough to manage the situation and not just thinking, oh, everybody that says my child did something wrong is trying to discredit or trying to be unkind to my child. Where do we really draw this line? Because sometimes some of these things could be a bit blurred. So I don't know if they can speak to that. Thank you very much.
Interesting. That's a powerful question. Thank you for asking, Amala. Yeti, can you take it? Then Amala too, we take. Then we have 2 more questions to go. Thank you very much.
Okay. You know what? When you were talking, I was thinking about the situation in school where children participate in maybe inter-house sports and they give everybody trophy, whether you came first, second, last, you didn't even cross the line. Everybody's going to get a trophy to celebrate that. Woohoo, we're all winners. We have to be very careful not to paint a picture that is not reality. You can praise a child for doing well. So for example, in my children's school, they would have everybody run, even the one that was the slowest, and they would cheer until the last one crossed the line. And they would praise that child for not giving up, even though they were way back. But it doesn't mean they give them a trophy that you came first. You didn't come first. Right. So I think it's very important as well as parents that we don't go from this idea that because I want to be an intentional, effective parent who's, close to my child, who encourages my child, I now start painting a picture that's not reality. Because if you lie to your child knows that you're lying to him or her, and they're not going to trust you. So what am I saying here? It's a balance. You need to let your child know that you trust them, you believe them, and you will always be there for them. However, you need to also strike a balance where you listen when somebody else is saying something about your child. Because a lot of us are going to think that some things our children could never do, but we're not always going to be there. So in that case, for example, that mom was projecting in her mind, she felt they were judging her parenting. They were judging her motherhood. That's why she was saying, I know the child I raised. There's no way. No, okay, you might know the child you raised, but your child was showing you that actually there was another part of him that maybe you didn't see. And I love the fact that the child was honest enough to tell the mom that, hello, I actually said it too. I actually said what they're saying I said. So the balance really is, honestly, it is a dance. You want your child to know that you trust them, you love them, you will always believe them. However, you need to also let them know that you will always listen to both sides. And then when you've listened to both sides, you can then come and say, XYZ, why did you behave like? Why did you say that? What exactly happened? And then you correct the behavior, which is why I believe there's something called positive discipline. You don't have to only shout or smack or label. You can correct the behavior. You're not condemning the child, but you can say, you know what, that was a bad word that you used. Why did you use it? You shouldn't be using words like that. Let's talk about what you can do in the future next time you feel a certain way. So you are taking the child from, you're correcting the behavior, and you are going all the way to what they should do instead. And that's where a lot of parents miss it, because they don't talk about what you should do instead and equip the child to know how to do the correct behavior. A lot of things are left hanging. But you're right, Amala, there seems to be this wave where it's either I love you and everything you do is perfect, or I am a screaming, spanking, shouting parent. No, There's an in-between, and it's that in-between that we need to navigate properly.
Yeah, thank you so much, Yeti, for that. In fact, when you were talking, it's also dropped in my mind that the schools also need to know how they present some of those things, because, maybe I was just thinking that could it be that the school, the way they presented it to the woman, then the woman now came up with that self-defense, So Pina, I'll allow you to respond to that.
Yeah. And I was just going to add that sometimes this happens with insecurity of parents. Parents, sometimes we think we need the projection, you don't want people to say things about you. So you're trying to you start being defensive of your children rather than thinking, okay, you know what, let's see what this is about. Okay. Next time, what the parent should do is, okay, you know what, thank you for sharing with me what my child did. I'm going to sit down with my child when my child gets home, and we're going to talk through this matter. But I think the insecurity of the parents is like, oh, my child did not do this because the parent is fearful of what people will think about her. That's where that comes in. And then you see a lot of defensive parents is mostly because they don't want people to think that they're bad parents from that. And that's why they will go out of their way to defend the child, even though the child was guilty. So the right way is to calm down, thank the school for what they've shared with you, and then go and speak to your child at home. Because children can do things just in the moment. They didn't mean to, but they would do it. So it's about talking to your child rather than defending your child and then fighting with the school. When I hear that parents are fighting and things with the school, I'm always thinking, but come on, these teachers and this school, they're part of your children's caregivers. If you're going to be loggerheads with teachers, you have to be very careful, because the words of teachers can go into your child's mind and stay there for years. So be very careful with the relationship you have with the school. I think parents need to be very aware, because if you're coming very aggressively at school, you're not modeling a good behavior and a good character for your children. Many children are even embarrassed about it. And that's why many children don't even share with you what has gone on in school, because they don't want you to come in school all fighting and all embarrassing them anyhow. Their heads will just be like, oh my God, what is she going to say? What is he going to do? And you lose conversations with your children. They don't share with you their concerns because they are worried about how you would then behave in school. So as Fieti said, we need to calm down and become more, so that we can stay close with our children and know exactly what's going on in their world, so that we can help them out. And that is really key. But I think that's her defense started from being insecure as a parent.
We should calm down and become more. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Our time is running, and I know Yeti will have to leave anytime from now. So we have two questions, one in the chat box, but I want Yeti to talk about this global citizen thing that we all are now, and this is holidays. I know a lot of arguments, fights happen between parents and their children on the use of the social media. And somebody wrote on the social media recently that we should fill up their tank, their emotional tank, their clinical tank, all their tanks, And parents are going to work. Parents are not on holidays. And so when they are not around, the children are left with the gadgets and everything. So Yeti, I want you to talk about the digital world, and to even make it easier, right? BB Niger is on. Some parents don't even know the boundaries. Some parents don't know the boundaries. My daughter was complaining how that her friends were putting it on their status and all. And she said, Mommy, I'm not going to go to status, anybody's status throughout this period, because I don't know why their parents are allowing them watch. What can we do, and how do we? I know that's one of your special area, the use of social media at this time. Yes,
absolutely. I say that, that African proverb that says it takes a village to raise a child, raise a family. I've modified it, and I say it takes an e-village. The same way, when we were raising, when it says it takes a village, what it typically means is if you see somebody else's child doing something that they shouldn't be doing, you should feel free to be able to step in and say, that's not correct. Correct the child, even if they're not yours. And if you see something going on that's not okay, you should actually be able to talk to another parent. If I see something going on, I should also call Fina and say, Fina, I noticed this, so blah, blah, blah. And Fina should be responsive, right? That, oh, thank you for bringing that up. I will look into it as well. Now, that's in the physical state. What has happened is we now have a full virtual world, right? So what happens in the context if Fina sees my child doing something online that they shouldn't be doing? What is the place for that e-parenting? What is the place for her coming and being able to say, I noticed that your child posted this. I would like you to look into it. So what am I saying? The truth is that we're not in a physical world alone again. Right? I'm not talking about spiritual now, where we have mind, body, soul, all of those things. In terms of reality, we don't live in a 2D world. We're in a 4D world, 3D world. We're in the metaverse. Our children spend more time online than they do in person. Now, I keep telling my children, digital is not all good or it's not all bad. It is how you use it. So I built up way before my child got on social media. We used to build up along the ways. They understood why they didn't have a smartphone when they didn't have a smartphone, even though all their friends did. They understood, and I like analogies. So for example, recently I was telling my children that would any parent leave their child in a nightclub or on the street late at night just because it's summer? It's the same thing with social media, digital media. Because you're on summer does not mean that all the rules should get thrown out of the window. I might adjust it. And maybe rather than having your phone shut down at 9 o'clock, maybe I'm having your phone shut down at 11 because it is summer. But you have to have that relationship with your children. There's a slide I had that says that, when I was preparing for today, that says rules without relationship leads to rebellion. Rules without relationship, without communication will definitely lead to rebellion. I'm not suggesting that when you have a relationship with your children, they will never rebel. Of course not. We're not raising robots, right? However, when there are no rules, you can be sure they will rebel. But when they understand, when there's no relationship, you can be sure they'll rebel. But when you have a relationship, they understand where you're coming from. They know why there's screen time in place. They understand why you cannot just be online all night. My daughter tells me about how many of her friends don't sleep because their parents leave their phone with them through the night. So these are realities, and they can bring those things up to me because we have put a context around digital well-being, family time, screen time rules. Why do we have it in place? What is appropriate? What is not appropriate? A lot of parents are leaving their children to navigate the digital world by themselves. They are global citizens doesn't mean that they know exactly what to do and what is appropriate. The same common sense that should be in place. If I see a stranger, if my child sees a stranger, they should not go home with the stranger. They should not say because the stranger looks good, I'm going to enter their car and go with them. But that is what's happening in the virtual world. So we have to realize that they live in a virtual world. Let's not fight it. Every parent here, go and do an audit. What social media channels do your children use? And don't pretend that they don't. It can even be YouTube. You can say, my child is not on TikTok, but hello, those TikTok videos are coming onto YouTube. They are still seeing that same material. So do an audit. How is your child actually accessing the internet? From how many devices? From how many accounts? Who in the house is giving them access? Then you as a parent need to download all those apps. Yes, I said it. If your child is on Snapchat, download it. If your child is using Discord, download it. Because when you understand what goes on those apps, guess what? You can have relevant conversations. So we are raising digital citizens. They are online. Mommy and daddy, yes, you might not be home all the time. That does not mean you cannot put controls in place. You can use software. You can use parental software. That can be a whole different session if you want to get in touch with me. There are many things you can do to put controls in place to protect your child in this jungle that is online. But don't leave them and hope for the best. I always say hope is not a strategy. Okay? Hope is not a strategy. And drop the drama. If those are the only two things you take away from this woman called Lagos Moms that came to talk today, hope is not a strategy and drop the drama. When you have those two things in the back of your mind, a lot of other things make sense. So it's summer, okay, my children are at home. I don't have to fight them, but I can put controls in place. And the controls can be remote, meaning you don't have to be there for the controls to come on their devices. And secondly, create alternatives for them with them. Too many parents say, don't do this. Okay, mommy, what should I do? I don't know. Go and figure it out. Hello. Figure it out together. What are the alternatives? 30 minutes on, 30 minutes off. Right? You've played video games for 2 hours. You got to read a book for 2 hours. Do those things with them. So I hope that helps. You can't leave them to just figure it out themselves, because if you leave them to figure it out themselves, they will come back and they will abuse you. Because later they will come and say, but mommy, you never, I mean, how come? You never even, you bought me this phone. You gave me access to the internet. You bought me all the latest games. You don't even want to know what's going on in some of those video games your children are spending 10 hours a day playing. You don't want to know. Some of them simulate actual sexual acts. There's so much going on and parents don't know. So please download it with them, play with them, understand what's going on, and then create the rules together. Whether it's summer or not, it doesn't matter.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Yeti. Hope is not the strategy, and drop the drama. Mommies and daddies, drop the drama. The drama is too much. Let's drop it and be true to ourselves. Let's drop it and be true to ourselves. Look out, check out, interact with them, see what they are doing, watch what they are watching, dance the dance they are dancing. In that, you have you're creating a kind of point. I want to also say that Yeti has a class. Yeti, I want you to talk about your class. Then I'll talk about what Preschool International also have for the summer for the children. Yeti has something on digital. I want you to talk about it, and you can drop in the chat the link or how to access this class.
Okay.
We are rounding up
fantastic.
gradually. People, we are rounding up gradually. Please, let's be patient. Thank you very much. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to mention that. Yes, I do a lot of work in the online safety world, especially for our children. And so we're running our first Lagos Mom Summer Bootcamp, and it's an online safety summer bootcamp for children aged 8 to 13. And the idea is to teach them about being responsible digital citizens. So we're not coming to say digital is bad, but rather, how can you be empowered to be a responsible digital citizen? We're going to talk about everything: digital footprints, digital well-being, how to use it for good, what to do when you're a victim of cyberbullying, because a lot of our children in Nigeria are victims of cyberbullying. And when we've had these programs in schools, you know what they say? They don't tell anybody because they don't think their mother, their father, or their teachers will know what to do. Imagine how sad that is. A child is suffering cyberbullying because they don't think the adults in their life are equipped enough to help them. So we're trying to raise these children to have the skills to be responsible digital citizens. I'll drop the link in. It's for 3 days, August 8th, 9th, and 10th, 2 hours a day, 10 to 12. We're keeping it short enough, but we're having case studies. It's going to be engaging. And at the end of it, they're going to have children who know how to show up online and how to use social media, digital media, internet, everything for good, so that we reduce the damage. Trying to fix the problem is so much more painful, so much more traumatic, and so much more expensive. Hello, your device is how much? You give your child an iPhone 15, that's what, 800 pounds, but come and spend a little bit of money so that that child and yourself are equipped to use it positively, and parents won't show up. So we have to make those decisions ourselves. So I'll drop that link now. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to mention it.
Thank you so much. We are trying to create our own global village, that is why we have to do everything we need to do to help our village people. So that when village people in the next future, when our village people want to start doing our children, they are doing the right thing to our children, because we are operating from a right mindset. Thank you so much, Yeti, and thank you for all that you do. Tolani, are you here? I need you to talk about Preschool International, the Ready for Life summer camp, and the new rules of parenting class. Tolani, are you here?
Oh, yes, I am. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
And thank you to our speakers. It's been amazing. Even I am learning, because everything that we've talked about are issues that we we experience every day. A lot of parents are coming and saying, please help us. What do we do? I'm even tired. And one of the trends I've also seen is parents they don't even know how to engage their children this holiday. So they're looking for places to push them to. And yes, we are here, but thank you so much for the knowledge that we've gotten from Mrs. Yeti Williams and Mrs. Chichi. Thank you. Yes, we have the summer class starting this August. We have observed that there's a trend with teenagers out there right now when it comes to sexuality education. Whatever it is that you have told them about, when they touch you, you will get pregnant and all the don't have sex, they are bypassing all of those. And they are doing it regardless. I've walked to the school that said, oh, we have sex 30 minutes and it's 7,500 naira. Students within the school actually do this because they've lost that value. Not because the parents are not teaching what they know how to, but they still go ahead and do what it is that they want to do. So this summer, we're helping children discover their authentic self, discover their heritage and their humanity. We're also helping them create self-image, because one of the things that we've seen is they are not experiencing that love that they desire from home. So they are going out there to go look for love elsewhere and look for people who would validate them. And of course, when you see a child misbehaving, sometimes it's because they probably don't know who they are, or they're not even aware of who they are at all. These are things that would help them achieve during the summer class. We're also helping them discover their personal power and how they could also live above peer pressure. This summer class starts this August. My admin, I hope I have the link in there. So yes, for every parent who sign up, this is for age 8 to actually age 18. Yes, anyone who wants to sign up and get started. Class starts 8th of August and it's just going to run for 2 weeks. And we have the parenting class that's also going to start 7th of August, because we also understand that the issues that these children are having is not just from them, it's for parents. Parents don't know how. And we're not just teaching you, oh, don't beat your child, don't yell on your child. Parenting has grown beyond don't yell, has grown beyond how do you get the best out of your children. Because you can raise children, you're not yelling, you're not shouting, you're not beating them. But the question is, are you raising children who can compete globally? And that's what our parenting session is about. That also starts 7th of August. So you can sign up. I'm going to drop the link here. I'm not sure that my admin is active. So I'm just going to drop the link. And if you want a payment option, yes, you can also reach out to us and we would ensure that you get a payment option that is good for you. I just dropped the link.
Yeah, I need you to drop your phone number too.
Okay.
So that they can reach you.
You can reach us 234-081-25-120-410.
Thank you very much, Tolani, for that. Parents, as a community, as a village, we have made available a lot of things to help during this summer. And all we're doing is just to help raise a family that will change the world, a family that the offspring will change the society. And I'm really glad. Fina, do you have something? I know Fina has a podcast. Do you have anything for summer?
Yes, I would encourage people to follow me because I've got something coming up for teenagers in the summer, the 14th to the 16th of August. And I'm also running some parent group coaching sessions. So if people can follow me, and then they will be able to get the
so I want you to drop your handle.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Please drop your handle. Yeti, okay, Yeti already dropped our details. Tolani, please drop the phone number, and please let's reach out. We just talked about it. It is not a shame. You're doing what you're doing so well based on the information you have. And we have talked about learning, unlearning, and relearning. Please, let's take advantage of this. So I want to ask, Yeti, can we have a code for like a discount? Maybe if we have a code to say family meeting, you will give us a discount. Fina, you too, can we leverage on that for our community? Thank you.
Okay, we can do that. We'll talk about it offline, and then I'll explain or figure out how to make the code work. But we'll do
all right. All right. Thank you very much. Okay, so guys, I hope you registered on for this meeting, because we're going to be sending a mail after we have settled with Yeti on the discounts that will be given. We want you to take advantage of this, and this is brought to you by Center for Sex Education and Family Life, and I want you to take advantage of it. Thank you very much. God bless you. Okay, so let's take the last question. And the question is by Ariola. It's a very sensitive one. I know we have talked about this at the course of the conversation, but I'm seeing beyond this, not for Ari that is asking the question, but for every other person that is in the house, because shame is a very, very serious and emotion, right? And we need to know how to handle it. So Ariola said, shame, shame, shame. How do you not shame children, as this is what we all grew up with, at home, in school, on the streets? Fina, I want you to attend to that, then Yeti, if you have any contribution. That's going to be the last question for the day. Do I have any other answer? Yes, Fina, please, over to you.
Yeah, I think with that question, we're adults now, so we now need to decide what we're doing going forward. Are we going to be stuck with what we saw growing up, or are we going to move forward and be now more responsible? So yes, we grew up with a lot of shame, it's a lot of the way we were communicated to is a lot of shame and stuff. And what parents need to embrace these days now is actually going through parent coaching. Because these are things that are ingrained in us. How do we then, I'm going to use the term again, unlearn. How do we then move forward from how we've grown up? Because we can't hold on to the excuse that shame is how we grew up. Yes, we acknowledge it, but how do we then move beyond shame? Because we are responsible to do that. Our children are not going to hear the excuse that, oh, well, we shamed you because our parents shamed us. Our children are going to be looking up to us that, what are you going to do differently? What are you going to do differently? And that's what this generation is asking us. What are you going to do differently so that we are better prepared for the future ahead of us? And so we encourage parents to come in and learn parenting. Parenting is a skill. Parenting is not natural. Nurturing your children can be natural, but the parenting itself, the skill in parenting, is something that we need to embrace learning. And we need to know that when we're learning parenting, it doesn't mean that we're bad, because some people don't own up to it. You see a lot of people coming more to the DM to ask questions or to do things than coming out to learn stuff on parenting. And so it's about taking out the stigma, because this stigma about, oh, why should I learn parenting? It means that I'm a bad parent. No, it doesn't mean. Actually, when you parent, when you come through parent coaching programs, it means that you're a good parent who wants the best for their children. So I would say we have to learn how to not shame our children anymore. Speak more words to your children because if someone shames you today as an adult, would you like it? So the question now is, how do you then talk to your children without the shame element? Think about what you want to say to your child before you actually say to your child. If you're angry, don't speak to your child when you're angry, because some things that are going to come out of your mouth, even you won't believe that you've said it. So when you're angry, keep your mouth shut, zip it up. Come back to the topic later on when you've calmed down, because these are things that our children are going to remember. I shared a quote one time. I said, your child is 10 today. In 10 years, your child will be 20. Don't take their youth for granted. Don't take their young age for granted. They're going to come back to you and they're going to ask you questions. And in those moments, what are your answers going to be? We're not going to say, oh, because our parents did that. They're going to ask you, what did you do about it? Mm. And that's what we need to be mindful for, and then do everything that we can do to learn together. Pay for courses, guys. We pay for so many things, but when it's time to pay for courses, Everybody is shrinking, going, pay for these programs. Yeti has talked about her program. Go put some money on, pay for it and do it and learn it with your children so that your children can see that you as well, you are serious about their future. That's key. And that's what I will share with parents. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Fina. Thank you, Yeti. It's been an amazing session. And I love the intelligence that you guys have displayed this morning. And I really, really, really appreciate it. I hear Fina saying that it is not your fault that all those things happen to you, but it is your responsibility not to stay there. Get help. And getting help does not mean you're weak. It is a sign of strength. It has been established today that this generation that we all have woken to, the children are born for it, but we are learning. We are going to learn it. And so we need to learn, we need to unlearn to understand this because we are just starting. We're just starting, that's just the truth. We're just starting and we need to put ourselves together to get more information. While we round up, Yeti, your last word, then Fina, we also take your last word and we round up for the day. Thank you everyone for joining. Like I always say, there's no family meeting without you and we really appreciate it. Yes, over to you, Yeti.
All right, fantastic. It was a great time on this session. My children always make fun of me when I'm in a really good mood. They're like, did you just coach somebody or did you just finish speaking about parents? I'm like, now. Anyway, but on that shame one, Fina handled it very well. The only thing I wanted to add to that is something that I call reparenting. Realize that young, I've acknowledged it. I did this work many years ago, that the young Yeti is still in here. And anytime some things come up, I realize young Yeti just needs to be reassured, right? So that parent who mentioned shame, she's recognized that she grew up. So when she says things like that's how we were always, don't make those blanket comments. You don't know. You really don't know. So focus on yourself and say, okay, maybe that's her reality. She was raised in an environment where she grew up feeling shamed. And she finds that she feels shame. Do the work to go back to your young self. Where did that shame feeling come from? Try and identify what it looks like, where it comes from. And then when you can recognize it, when it shows up, you can say, anti-shame, you have come. Thank you. I recognize you. But you know what? I've moved past that. I'm no longer at that point. Sort yourself out so that then you can give from a place of love to your children. Even when you want to correct them, you can correct in love. I don't believe some people, I have a weekly radio show and many people will call in and say, this thing you're talking about sometimes, are you saying children should get away with anything? And I'm like, absolutely not. That is not what we are saying, right? However, we need to realize that not everything happened to us needs to be repeated. And I found that when you reparent, don't ignore him or her inside you. Your young self is there. There are some things you didn't get that you needed through the years, and that's fine. When you can acknowledge it, then you can do something about it. So let's just I just wanted to say that in terms of the shame. And in terms of summarizing, honestly, becoming an effective, intentional parent, it is not a sprint. It is a marathon. It is a race. You keep growing, you keep learning. Every time you learn something new and you learn something new, take the time to implement it. Where you have made, guess what? There is no perfect parent and there is no perfect child. There isn't. If you have 5 children, you will be 5 different types of parents to each child because each child needs something different from you. So you're always learning. And the beautiful thing is our children's love for us never ends. It never dies. We sometimes can squash it and squash their ability to express their love because we're not being open. But guess what? When you wake up is your morning. So even if your children are older and you feel you've messed up, guess what? That ability to be vulnerable, to go back and have a real conversation with them, one-on-one, sometimes individually, to say, you know what? I think there's some things I maybe didn't do right. Or just listen. I call it parenting blind spots. We all have blind spots. Take the time to listen to your children, get used to asking them for their opinion about things and how you are doing. And when they tell you and they give you the report card, because guess what? Your effective parenting is not based on what Fina's children will say about me. It's what my children say about me as a parent. So when you get feedback from them, even if you don't like it, remember, what do? We calm down. Take a deep breath. Go away if you have to, cry if you have to, say, my God, whatever. Then say, all right, what now? What now? But feedback from our children is one of the most priceless things that we can get. So with that, I just want to encourage parents, we will win. Being here, staying on from the beginning to now, majority of the parents have stayed on, well done. But once again, we are a minority. So how do we get this out there so that more and more parents are aware of this? Because it's people in the world that your children will date in the future.
Yeah.
So the more we do this, someone like Fina, I need to call you. You seem to have some older boys that be jokes apart. But you know what? We need to start to really focus on what do we want? How do we increase this message so that our children are relating and being exposed to people that are whole as well? So thank you for having me this morning. It was great being here. God bless everyone.
Beautiful conversation, Fina.
Thank
you. So why we you can have.
Yeah, so I think for me, I've enjoyed the conversations, and this is what it's really all about. I love to leave this with all of us, that there's this quote that says, you don't have to be great to get started, but you've got to get started to be great. And you know, this whole journey, this new journey, or this evolving journey that we're doing here for parenting, we have to remember that this is for the future. We are raising a generation that is going to be in charge of the future. So we have a lot of stake at hand. We have more power than we think, but it has to be power used in the right way. Don't lose your voice of reasoning. I think for us, keeping our voice of reasoning by doing the right things with our children, knowing that you don't have to be great to get started. Start at one point. Start with one area that you know you need to work with. Start in that area. Start to be better in that area. And you would see your family flourish. And with that, society flourishes. Yet he said it. Yeah, our children are going to marry other people out there. Who are they getting married? What homes are these children being raised in? So this core for growing and evolving in parenting, please don't look at it as it's a Western thing or it's an internet thing. Please look at it as this is the future. This is the future of your child. This is your legacy. This is your legacy that we're talking about. What do you want in the future what do you want your children to represent in the future about you? It's about your future. It's about the legacy you're leaving behind. So what we're doing today, what we're doing every day in our homes is really key for the legacy. What is history going to say about you? What is history going to say about your family? Let that be your motivation to really evolve in this journey. Let that be your motivation to do the best for your children so that your children can dare to live. Your children can dare to do things that you didn't even think was possible. I tell you, the intelligence that we have is nothing compared to what your children will do. So give your children give your children that safety so that they can go beyond. My son applied to Harvard. I never applied to Harvard. I didn't even think that Harvard was possible. But my son applied to Harvard and he got in Harvard, one of the best universities in the world, because he dared to believe beyond his environment. That's what we need our children. We need our children to go beyond what we're even providing for them. And so that starts with us looking inwards in ourselves and seeing those areas, focusing on those areas, closing the gaps and letting our children fly so that legacy, so that history can say stop about you. History can say, yes, you came in and you left your footprint in the sand. That's what we want as parents. Thank you very much. God bless.
Thank you so much, guys. I'm really excited about this. It's been an amazing and awesome time. Thank you for your time, and I believe it is worth it. Please, like Yeti and Fina said, let's share. Let's tell other people. Let people know what we have discussed today. This is already on YouTube at Praise for HOS Ando. Yes, youth on Praise for HOS Ando. It is titled Understanding the Woke Generation. Please feel free to share with your community. Remember, Yeti said, these people outside there, they're the ones your children will interact, relate with, and eventually marry some of them. So we need to do this awakening. Everybody needs to be carried along. Okay, so I can see Darren Shola's hand. Darren, do you have something to say? Sorry, we are so have spent. Darren, are you there? Do you have, can I just give you like 30 seconds to say what you want to say?
Yes.
Yeah, please.
Can you hear me, please? Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm probably the only single person here. So I'm not married, I'm not a parent, but this has been an incredibly insightful session. Oh,
Okay.
thank God. I'm not the only one here. Thank God I'm not the only one. But it's really been insightful, especially seeing as I have it's like we're having issues, and this is one of the reasons why I joined the community, because I don't want to have the same. I literally don't have a good relationship with my mom, and I don't want the same for when I start to have children and it's always been this issue of, oh, I'm your mother, a minimum beer, blah 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 blah, and so they don't listen, and so it's just like.
I think her network has issues. Thank you very much for joining us, everyone. I really appreciate. Derek, we can't hear you. I think we lost you, your internet, right?
Yeah, and she's raising such a great points. Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
I'm so
you
sorry.
Went off at some point.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Fine.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Yeah, so I was saying that the reason I joined this community is because I don't want to have the same issues that I had with my mom, or that my siblings and I had with our mom, because I mean it's the three of us. My dad died suddenly. He was dad and mom. My mom is based outside of the country, and all of a sudden he went to buy newspaper and did not come back home. He died in 24 hours. So, and then when she came back briefly, we had this disconnect because we were just like, oh my God, it's like, mommy is a stranger. She just used to come and go before. Then all of a sudden she's, oh my God, daddy did not come back. Hey, God, don't be for us. So, so like, and now many years later, like 8 years after, we still don't have a relationship. I'm telling you, because she's always like, Emini will be, now me born you, blah, blah, blah. She never ever, like, she never listens. And the one that listens to us, who I would say, my dad was the kind of person who, if he offended me or any of us, he was very civil. We could tell him, daddy, this is what you did to Babaki, this is what you did to blah, blah, blah. And explain to us, apologize, and let us know, oh, this was the reason why this happened. So he was my first example of civility. So my mom now came and it was just the opposite. I'm like, hey, God, what's be this? So I mean, all of this, I mean, it's been insightful and I learned a lot, and thank you for the opportunity. This is our first family meeting. I hope to join a lot more and then, of course, learn more. Thank you.
Thank you, Derry, for being ready to do better things for yourself. Thank you so much. And I need you to show your mom love. She's doing what she knows with what she has. You know, you never can tell what she has gone through, how she was raised and all. So I dropped my number. I sent my number to you. You can reach out to me so that we can pick it up from there. Thank you so much, everyone. Let me see. Ariola dropped something. Please speak to your mom when she's calm. Yeah. Derry, that's Ariola. Derry, that's for you. From Ariola. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Yeti. Thank you, Fina, for your time. And thank you, everyone, for being patient. We look forward to the August edition of the family meeting. And like I always say, please feel free to send your comments to us. If you want us to treat a topic, please send to us and we handle that. We do everything family. And we're trying to build a strong community here. Have a beautiful rest of the day. I love you all so much.